stuck here. The cops won't bother me. I'm gonna go for a little bit of a spin here. Can't get the seat. It's kind of moving a little bit. One thing I like about the seat is that it's grippy. I can't get the 12-volt cigarette lighter to work. I actually took this panel out, and this is where the battery is. Very easy to access these bolts. It's 4 bolts, but it's Yamaha does this a lot. Instead of having like a threaded thing, you just turn it 1/4 and it just pops out. And I was able to slide this back. I found a fuse for some sort of external thing broken, a 20 amp fuse. So I replaced that, and I thought, okay, that's the fuse for this. But it turns out, nope, still won't get power. So I wanted to put this so I could charge a GPS or something. And normally there's a light that comes on, and I tested this in a car, so it should work. So when you turn it on, even when you turn it on, it doesn't come on. So yeah, I was kind of hoping that this would be charging. How well it's been maintained. I think the guy that had it before me did a very good job and rode it a lot. I think it's really nice when you get a bike that you know has been completely taken care of, and this has been taken care of really well. It's perfect, mechanically beautiful. That one you can tell the owner did not maintain it well, and it's kind of a shame because I hear very good things about the Kymco as being almost on par with Japanese bikes, but not quite. It's like one step down, more towards the BMW sort of reliability. But this thing is definitely not as reliable or well engineered as a Japanese bike. I'm actually kind of surprised a little bit with the engineering. They made it a little bit too difficult, but they also made things kind of, you could upgrade it, you know. For example, they have extra plugs for power for additional things. At every blinker they have additional power sockets, I guess, if you wanted to put different lights or something. So as it sits right now, I believe I'm actually kind of aiming towards the issue with the engine overheating is really not overheating. I think it's just this dash that's off, because this particular, my fuel gauge is also not working, but everything else seems to work. So I think that's the reason. And also another thing that gives it away is that the buttons won't do anything. They won't change the odometer, the speedometer, the mode won't change anything. So the only things that work are the tach and the speed and the signals. So that is one of the reasons I'm going towards a speed cluster problem. But I still have to kind of fix another issue, is that there's an erratic idle with this. And I remember the previous owner saying that he took it apart, so that's always bad news. So I might have to take that apart. But of course I'm not going to be able to do anything for at least a week because I'm waiting for parts. I really should clean this thing up. I'm going to turn it off because I want to check the oil. I was actually kind of surprised. So let's just move it back, put it on the kickstand, on the center stand. It's a little dirty. It's actually pretty easy to put it on the center stand. Not as easy as the V-Strom. To check the oil on the Tenere, it's very difficult to see. It's right over there, you see that? So it's actually in the right spot. And you do have this adjustability. So I'm kind of just looking around, trying to see if there's everything is good. What's this? This is right off of my backyard. And you know, this road is actually kind of bumpy. But on this bike, the suspension is pretty darn good. that it feels very natural. I think that's the beauty of the adventure bikes, is that they soak up a lot of the road. So I can see why sport touring bikes have kind of gone away. Whenever I see a guy with a sport touring bike, especially like a new one, like a BMW, it's like, what the hell are you doing, man? You know that these adventure bikes are much better sport tourers than sport tourers. These adventure bikes are just so much easier to ride fast, and it's just the suspension works so much better for everyday type of riding. Whoa, you see that? That was like a big, I think that was a dead animal. Kind of scared me. For everyday riding, these adventure bikes are perfectly suited. It just feels like people with the adventure type of bikes and that weird mentality, I find that there's a lot more posers in the adventure world than there are in the sport bike world. I mean, there's like a, I guess not. Sport bikers are like definitely the biggest posers, and a lot of it has to do with insecurity. And a lot of it is kind of like homoerotic. When you think about all the guys that just get together in the sausage fest and they ride on like these major highways doing wheelies, it seems so homoerotic, because the only people that's impressing are other guys. And it's kind of like a show, to kind of show that like, oh yeah, you got some power over somebody else. It's so silly. It's so homoerotic, but yet these guys don't see it. There's an interesting place here in Maryland. It's called Freeway Airport. Learn to fly. And you see all of these airplanes. So one of the major problems I see with these big bikes is that they do keep your speed very high, and I noticed that this road is a 30-mile-an-hour zone, and a lot of guys actually make fun of me for riding like sometimes in the speed limit, and I actually don't do it very often. But when I'm in town or I'm approaching a town or a city, I do not want to speed. See, there's a speed camera right there. And the reason I don't want to speed is that I don't want to piss people off. I don't know why motorcyclists feel like they have to be revving their bikes and kind of like drawing attention to them. I kind of want to be stealthy. I don't want the police to be drawn to me. Alright, let's check this particular area here. By the way, the reason the touring mode is important on this bike, this is what I just figured out. I'm kind of slow. The touring mode makes it easier like in low speeds. It actually limits the power everywhere, but when I'm riding this slow, like in a park, the sport mode is just so twitchy. So if you switch it to touring mode, it's just so much easier to ride slow, like in a park like this where the speed limit is like under 25 miles an hour. Really nice. Who knew this park was here? That's Watkins Regional Park. I am very surprised that this park is as nice as it is. That's one of the things that's been happening with the pandemic. People have been exploring parks. We're actually leaving Temple Hills here, and we're going to be heading to Oxon Hill. Rosecroft Raceway. I don't see a lot of point to having horse races. It's such a large amount of land that's very expensive near Washington, D.C. But you know what's happening now with this virus? People are apparently moving out to the suburbs and out to the countryside. And I'm starting to think that's actually the smartest thing to do. Even Joe Rogan is moving to Texas. And DC is not much better. Man, this really is limiting. The touring mode is really weird. Liberal friends are actually, they put down living in the suburbs as if it's an insult. That's something that I always find very interesting. I dated this girl, and she was kind of like, a bar hopper alcoholic slash very promiscuous girl, and she was always like putting down people that lived in the suburbs. And what is wrong with living in the suburbs? There's nothing wrong with living in the countryside. There's nothing wrong with living in the city. But now with this virus, we're realizing that city living is not really what it's made up to be. First of all, most people have cars, so getting to a grocery store is not that big of an issue. Even if you live in the suburbs, there's grocery stores everywhere. Every, division has got a grocery store. So why is it so? I think it's because people that live in the city like to think they're somehow more intellectual than the people that live in the country. We have this idea that we somehow are much more intelligent, more educated than a farmer. But farmers are extremely smart. You have to be smart to be a good farmer. We all like to think that the current people that are alive now are the kindest ever. We all like to think that Trump is beneath us, but in reality he's actually the perfect president for our time. Trump really is a mirror of what we are. What's that lady doing? He really is. He's a mirror of us. He is our insecurities. But people are leaving the city, and I don't blame them. I'd rather live a little bit further out. At one point I wanted to live in the city because, quite frankly, that's where women go, which is very odd because women want to feel safe. But the city, even the most expensive parts of the cities, are the most dangerous. Criminals that live in bad areas come to the city to commit crimes. There's drive-bys in these areas where women feel safe all the time. It's all perception. We are not the best humans. There's very little difference between humans of today and humans of 100, 200, 300, 400 years ago. Not much has changed. We haven't really evolved. We are the same people that existed 2,000 years ago. We're not better. We have technology and stuff, but I think the technology has actually made us less kind, less civilized. It's one of those catch-22s. And I love technology, but the people that complain about being tracked and all of these things, yeah, that's true. But you know what you can do? Get rid of your damn phone. Pick things that don't have so much technology in them. Get a dumb phone. Don't get a smartphone. We all like to complain about it. But we're not that much different from the barbarians of old. It's like Joe Rogan said, civilization is just a very thin facade. And you see that in, speed camera over there, you see that in traffic, road rage, seemingly intelligent people killing each other over somebody cutting another person off, people chasing other people down. What do you think that comes from? That's like a reptilian part of our brain that we cannot get away from. That's why there's all of these events that happen that are kind of like out of our control. Look at this guy driving in the middle of the road. Oh, I can't actually cross over here. I'm gonna have to go up. Head Highway. I actually haven't been here in a very long time. Guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.